More YouTube.
Play video games. I haven't had to play a console video game in over 15 years. I was a generation who was born at the same time that the video game revolution of the 1970s was first coming to pass. Most of you who think of yourselves as gamers only discovered consoles in the early aughts. Sorry, but you're newbies. Now, that being said, I decided that I wanted to try to figure out what this E3 thing was about now, because truth be told, video games are bigger now than they've ever been. So I decided to watch some of the video game trailers being shown at this year's E3 convention online and talk about feeding time at the zoo based on the content. I didn't know if this was a video game convention or a gay pride parade. No, I do know what it was. It was definitely a gay pride parade trying to vainly masquerade itself as a video game convention, because the trailers seem to be a hell of a lot more concerned with pushing the LGBT imagery than they were with trying to sell a video game. Apparently the guys who make these video games, they're not worried about selling games anymore. As far as they're concerned, their video games are now going to become just these clumsy fronts to push homosexuality. Two video game trailers in particular were especially sickening. The first was for a new video game called Battlefield 5. Everything seemed business as usual at first. There was the usual shootings and explosions and gunplay, and then at the end, they show a white nurse embracing someone in a pilot's uniform and telling this person that she loves them. And although we can only see this pilot from the back, it's clear that this isn't some big strapping fellow that she's hugging. And when the camera cuts, it reveals who the pilot is, and we see that it's a woman. Now keep in mind, the last Battlefield game, Battlefield 1, had one of the Harlem Hellfighters on the cover, but they weren't actually miss an intro cutscene at the beginning of the game, and then you never see or hear about the Harlem Hellfighters afterwards. This becomes particularly egregious when you see that the game is about the Brits, the Arabs, Australians, and these people get whole storylines fully fleshed out kind of game time, while the guys on the cover of the box are deliberately ignored. So putting a black character on the cover of Battlefield 1, that was as far as DICE was willing to go. But I'll bet you that these lesbians won't be getting the blink and you'll miss it treatment. No, sir, I'll bet they get a lot of screen time in the game. LGBT whatevers are only 2 to 3% of the population tops, and that's being generous. While black people are 13% of the population, yet these white video game developers make sure that black people are never featured in games, while giving the least significant, least cash important segment of the society first-class treatment. But that was only a glimpse of the LGBT parade that was taking place at E3 this year. Naughty Dog, the guys behind Crash Bandicoot, they put out their big video game for the year, The Last of Us. And this video game trailer, for those of you not familiar, The Last of Us is a video game about some 40-something man who was trying to help a 10-year-old girl through a post-apocalyptic world full of zombies. I saw one of the playthroughs for this game, and it had a very creepy vibe to it. This little girl who was accompanying this guy, she seemed, even though she's like 10 years old in the game, the video game seems to treat her as if she was basically an ersatz girlfriend. And they put her in situations that basically a grown woman ought to be and not a child. That was deliberate. These developers seemed way too interested in this child, and not in an innocent kind of way. It was only too clear that she was there for a reason other than to facilitate gameplay. And it turned out there was a very good reason for that. After the first Last of Us game came out a few years ago, Naughty Dog released some DLC content in which now the player takes on the role of the little girl. So see how slick they were about that? You go from playing the part of a hetero to now you're playing the part of the little girl. But she finds a black female friend about the same age, both of them not even teenagers, And things go on innocently enough until it turns out that they like each other, and not in a platonic way. And I think it's each other. So they were already pushing the envelope then. They didn't make a big deal about it. Not at the time. As far as they're concerned, hey, they got away with it before. Now it's time to go all in. Now keep in mind, this is supposed to be a preteen child, and they portray her not only as having sexual interest, but lesbian interest at that. These are not video games. These are pedophile fantasies. And now we have the sequel to The Last of Us. This time they dispense with any pretense that this was ever supposed to be about the male protagonist, or that this was ever supposed to be anything other than an LGBT parody. And this time it's just the girl, only she's older now, and at E3 they ran a trailer that shows her kissing another woman, and not just kissing, but sucking on each other's faces for what seemed to go on forever. So clearly Naughty Dog sees this as a major selling point. So apparently Uncharted, I guess that was a little bit too heterosexual for them. I told you that for the LGBT crowd, they're allowed to go way too far. Let's just call it what it is. If the idea was to make sure that cornholing and carpet munching was acceptable, they passed that bridge a long time ago. Nobody has been kicking in the doors to a gay nightclub in decades, and nobody has been arresting someone for lesbian or homosexual activity well before that. So the society has long decided to lay off the gay lifestyle. So what the hell is all of this pushing of gay everything by them about? What is all this gay advocacy about now? Because it's never been about them being allowed to do what they want in the bedroom. They've always been able to hide their bedroom shenanigans. They've always had their little secret hideaways, and they've always been able to act heterosexual in public, and then behind closed doors, it's something else. So obviously it's not them being able to freely practice the lifestyle that they've been after. This is something else. The target for them has never been their fellow homosexuals. It has always been heterosexuals, particularly children. Children who are heterosexuals, those are the ones that they want. And to make the man in that Last of Us game homosexual, that wouldn't have been good enough for the folks over at Naughty Dog. To make a prepubescent child into the focus of a sexual romance, that was the entire point that they wanted to reach. None of this is happening by accident. And that so many of them are doing this at the exact same time, now you know that that's collusion. Video games are a billion-dollar industry. That's billion with a B, folks. Whenever a Halo game comes out, they make more money in a 3-day period than most summer blockbusters make in their entire theatrical run. You think that these big billion-dollar corporations putting out this crap, that they just let this happen? It was just coincidence? Sure. And the same guys who ethnically cleansed black characters from their Battlefield game, even though they had the nerve to put a black man on the cover, they just happened to give a prominent place to lesbians. By accident, too. The same guys making one game after the other. Only one game has the black folks censored, and the other one, nah, we ain't censoring this gay thing. This is not new, by the way. All of this pedophile promotion that the video game industry is doing, this ain't new. The video game industry has long been a breeding ground of pedophiles. Now, a lot of you have forgotten that in 1999, one of the creators of the Tomb Raider video game was arrested after he tried to solicit sex from what he thought to be a 9-year-old. Now, keep in mind, that was nearly 20 years ago. A lot of you weren't even born then. But you haven't seen the video game industry make an issue of it. I remember when this first came out, they did everything that they could to ignore it. They were not about to give any airtime to this one. But this is who populates the video game industry. The video game industry buried this story. They were not going to take it on head on, and they were not going to ask, what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? As far as they're concerned, hey, we ain't Hollywood. We got ourselves an industry that's not really taken as seriously as the movies. We can get away with murder. See, this is how their sick minds work. This is why whenever you look up, they are constantly trying to put little kids into video games, and the children are basically portrayed in the role of a surrogate girlfriend. When you or I look at a 13-year-old child, we see them for what they are. Big kids. That's what they are. They're just big kids. They're silly adolescents who make stupid decisions and say stupid stuff because they think that they're smarter than they really are. That's what happens when you have a childish mentality that has not matured. But when these white media pedophiles look at a 13-year-old, they don't see a big kid. They see a little adult. At least that's how they like to think of them. And this, in their sick minds, gives them permission to do whatever they want to a child. The content these video games put out is meant to groom these children to be prey for the pedophiles behind the LGBT movement. These are not video games, they're indoctrination films masquerading as video games. As they see it, if they just inundate the media aimed at children and young people with homosexual imagery, then this is going to normalize it in the public mind. It's gonna get the kids used to it because, hey, it's gonna become old and stale. It's gonna lose any sort of shock value. Why? We'll just drown them in this imagery, and in short order, they're going to see it as just another ho-hum regular part of life. I told you about how the more delusional LGBT advocates are telling themselves this exact lie, that all they got to do is just dump imagery on young people and this will normalize it in their minds. But clearly, these LGBT types don't believe their own hype. And in a minute, or rather later on in this evening's broadcast, I'm going to explain to you why that is, because the young people ain't taking the bait, though I digress. However, that's not to say that the lies that these gay zealots are promoting don't do real damage. You see, the media is all about promoting a value system. You can see the value system that these scumbags are trying to push. A society needs its values. It absolutely must have its values in order to be a society. Without values, human beings become nothing more. And whenever people try to confuse or destroy a particular group's values, then society degenerates. Oh, forget about degenerates. Society deteriorates and falls apart. A so-called lifestyle that's based on a cannot drive a society forward. It can only make a society regress. The LGBT crowd has an all-consuming obsession with expanding their pool of available sex partners. And their favorite means of doing that is by force. That's what the LGBT lifestyle is about. It's about we're trying to figure out how to convert video games into a propaganda mill to push it at young people. They choose these venues for a reason. I told you about pansexual Calrissian. I mean, Lando Calrissian. He was being used as a stalking horse. But we all see what happened to Solo. Apparently, the public, those young people, as soon as they hear about this, they're like, enough is enough. And that's what the gays are scared of. They're scared that especially the young people are going to say, enough is enough. And when the young game over, it's going to be game over for a generation, and they know that. As far as they're concerned, all of this progress, how the hell do two men or two women being able to pretend that they're married, how the hell is that progress? Progressing toward what? Damn sure not a family. But they like to pretend that all of the gains that they've made at the society's expense, that somehow these are permanent wins, but they know that if the young people are already giving them thumbs down and turning their backs on them, what that means is all of these alleged gains can be wiped out overnight. They only got to where they are because of the Supreme Court. So what that means is if people start putting referendums on the books, or God forbid, if somebody decides that there's going to be a constitutional amendment, the gays are not going to be able to get married. They're going to outlaw the gay lifestyle by constitutional amendment. That is the end of the ball game. It's the end of the ball game for homosexuality. They're dancing on a razor's edge, and they know it. So far as they're concerned, we got to get out before they start thinking that way. It's only a matter of time before somebody decides to mount a substantive constitutional challenge to put banning gay anything on the books as part of the Constitution. It's only a matter of time. And you already see you got a young generation who apparently been and accepting of shoving the gays back in the closet. No one asked for these video game developers to be pushing the LGBT lifestyle. These guys are trying to force it onto the society. And they sit here and they carpet bomb you, they sneak attack you with it, they ambush you with it. They didn't tell you that the Last of Us game was going to be featuring all this lesbianism. They didn't tell you that Battlefield 5 was going to be an LGBT public service announcement, or rather public disservice announcement. They didn't warn anyone, even though that's exactly what most of these trailers were concerned with, pushing the gay lifestyle. They didn't sit there and tell people, hey, here's a gay sex simulator for you. Instead, they just ambush you with it, because that's how they do it. That's how homosexuality spreads, by the way, ambushing children. You got these degenerate pedophiles, whether they're adults or teenagers in many cases, who themselves were sexually abused as children. And then they get their hands on these kids, and these kids start acting out the same degenerate abuse that was inflicted on them. Sneak attacks on people, try to catch on the blind side. It's the same way so many gays and lesbians became that way through a forced sexual violation at a young age. That's what's happening here. You're seeing the media equivalent of it. Now, kids love video games just like they love movies. And by putting this crap into something that kids love, the LGBT crowd thinks they're being clever. To them, this is poison and a candy coating. Well, we need the young lions among you to call this crap out. We need the young voices to say no. Between the white supremacist trash and the hyper-aggressive LGBT advocacy, video games as a medium have become a gigantic wasteland, a sewer full of crap. Instead of abandoning video games too early, perhaps I abandoned them too late. And you seriously got to ask why Professor Black Truth doesn't play video games? Really? Black people don't understand bedroom politics. We think that apparently if someone has sex with us, that means that they like us, when in fact, in many cases, people, especially from the white majority, they see sex with a black person as strictly recreational. If you're a black man who's having sex with a white woman, ain't nothing you're doing so great in the bedroom that she's going to forget that she's white, or she's going to forget about the group that she's part of. And if you're a black woman having sex with a white man, he's the leader of white supremacy. Ain't nothing you're doing in the bedroom so special that you're going to get that white man's brain, you're going to get his mind all twisted up. You're going to be confused as to your relationship with him, but he won't be confused about anything. And as Bill Cosby found out, you can have sex with a white woman, even if she does look like Kitty G, and should immediately afterwards and help the authorities to put you in prison. Bill Cosby had to learn that lesson the hard way. We seem to think that what we do in the bedroom has nothing to do with what we do in the streets or in the arenas of power, when the truth is what you do in your most intimate moments, about your most private and personal of affairs, says everything about how you handle your business. If you're somebody who's living foul and wild in the bedroom, ain't no way in hell you're going to be able to hold things together when it comes time to do the zeros and ones and get to the bottom line. Don't believe me? Harvey Weinstein. The Weinstein Company was in trouble long before Harvey Weinstein got exposed. They've been in business, they've been in trouble for a long time because Harvey Weinstein couldn't decide if he wanted to be a movie executive or if he wanted to be a freelance gigolo. So he tried to be both, and in the end, he will wind up neither. So you better believe bedroom politics has always been a primary weapon of white supremacy against us, and we keep falling for it because we don't understand it. And that's what this LGBT crap is about. Promoting homosexuality has always been a political weapon of oppressor classes when they come into a particular foreigner's land. When they come in, they try to figure out, how do we get all these men to stop acting like men and get them to act like women? If we can't defeat them militarily, let's at least get them to stop acting like men so we can defeat them from the inside out. The promotion of homosexuality turns the males into useless chumps, and it leaves the women defenseless. I don't care how butch these females try to act. If you're a freaking female and you do not have the man there doing his job, and his primary job is protection, you are open to any invader who comes along. Homosexuality, by its very nature, promotes chaos within the communities that allow it to be practiced. Most people are not homosexual, and they would never choose to be. So the only way to create more homosexuals is to confuse heterosexual people, and this has to be done by force. To corrupt a heterosexual adult, however, is possible, but it's very, very difficult. Adults who have been the victims of homosexual assault, they're far less likely to adopt the lifestyle. In fact, in most cases, heterosexuals who have been raped by some homo, they oftentimes become adamantly hostile towards gay people. They react with aggression, outrage. They should. Adults react to sexual assault with anger. So the homosexual agenda will always target children because they're the ones most likely to be confused by a gay assault and by a homosexual assault. I used to say sexual assault. No, let's call it what it is, a homosexual assault. And a child who's been violated by one of these degenerates will begin to think that this is somehow what they're supposed to be. They get confused about it because they don't understand what happened. They didn't get a chance to choose. All this gay advocacy that you're seeing, this is not some natural development in media. This is a coordinated psychological war on the minds of the masses, primarily aimed at the most impressionable group in the society, the children. These gay zealots think that if they carpet bomb the society with homosexual imagery, that's going to make the society accepting of it, and it doesn't work that way. People can watch two dogs humping. That doesn't mean that they themselves want to practice it, and they damn sure don't want anyone in their family to do it. This is the fundamental paradox that the gay agenda is faced with. They can get all the Supreme Court rulings and all the TV shows and video games showing cornholing and carpet munching that they want. They can write up all the asinine articles they want saying that a majority of the society supports gay marriage. If the heterosexual majority themselves are not on board with it, then nothing will change. You can carpet bomb us, you can ambush us with all the images of women kissing each other and men holding hands that you want. What will happen is the heterosexual majority will say yuck, and they'll reject it. Solo was proof of that. These guys see just how quickly the tide can turn. They're worried. They should be. The gay community has been lying to itself for decades. They lie and claim that all they want is for their lifestyle to be socially acceptable. But even after it is socially acceptable, that ain't enough. They say, well, now you heterosexuals, you got to do it too. They're not stopping with, well, we need you to simply stop screwing up your faces and going yuck whenever you see two men kissing. We need you guys to do this yourselves. You need to do this. In fact, if you don't, we're going to try to find a way to shame you or attack you for not practicing the lifestyle. This is about forcing heterosexuals to become part of the homosexual subculture. Emphasis on the sub part. Homosexuality has always been promoted through force. It cannot promote itself through any other means. It's always promoted itself through deception, lies, trickery. The people practicing homosexuality have to lie to themselves. Two women have to lie to themselves that they started a family when all that really happened is you got one woman who chose to become a single mother and another woman who says we're going to cohabitate. You're teaching your children that their father needs to be estranged from them. But mostly what you're teaching children is the human relationships, especially the relationships between fathers and mothers, are disposable. You're teaching them that relationships with other people are basically whimsical. You can be as capricious as you want. Other people only benefit you somehow, and they're only necessary to the extent that they benefit you. That's what you teach a child when you run around with all of these surrogate mothers and all of these sperm donors and all of these womb donors. When you have an entire segment of the population who thinks that who is just determined that they're going to play heterosexuals' fantasy when they don't do the same thing heterosexuals do. That is a society that is fostering and inculcating a mass mental disorder. Homosexuals are getting themselves pregnant, or they're having to pay someone to get pregnant for them, and then saying, this is me and what's his name over here's baby. No, it ain't. It's one of your babies and the other one's adopted. This is madness. This is social schizophrenia. And this is what they're trying to promote to children. And they're doing this on the big stage. E3 is the biggest video game convention on the planet. And this is what they're doing there. So you better believe Comic-Con's going to go the same way if it hasn't already. And whatever else you got out there. You know, homosexuality has always been about forcing themselves on unwilling people. Homosexuality has always been about making it where the other person doesn't have a choice, taking that choice away from them. Coercion, violation, dominating through violence. This is the core of the gay lifestyle. It's done through physical violence, psychological violence, political violence, economic violence, as in the case of businesses who refuse to cater to gay weddings. The gay lifestyle is violence and nothing else, and the media is acting as its PR department. I don't watch practically any white media because I dissect what I watch. I study the narratives and the thematic trends of the white media that I occasionally will glance at. I listen to the words that the news anchors on TV or the actors on a television show use because I understand that these are in fact media messages being presented to me by someone who's looking to influence what I think and how I act. Dr. John Henrik Clarke taught you that one, didn't he? He said that the media is out to control images. If they can control what you see, they can control how you see yourself. And if they can control how you see yourself, they can control what you do about yourself. Here they are, every time that they have a homosexual character on a TV show, they just applaud it like it's the freaking second coming. Meanwhile, if you got a black show that's doing well, they look at it and they go, like, okay, let's move along. If you're a black lesbian, the operative term there being lesbian, then they'll applaud you. But if you're a black heterosexual woman, well, you're kind of a niche. You're not really what we're trying to promote. You know, you're boring us by hanging around so long. Look, folks, either you're preparing to dismantle white supremacy or you're preparing to become its next victim. And they're making it clear that they're targeting the children. This is not about getting your children to willingly go along with the lifestyle. This is about conditioning the society to accept pedophilia and the rape of children as legitimate conduct. Don't punish us for raping children. That's what the LGBT lifestyle can be best summed up as. The alleged definition of the gay lifestyle is same-sex or pansexual whatever, but as I've always taught you, there's the standard definition of something, and then there's the practical definition. And the practical definition means how it works in practice. Because when someone gives a standard definition of something that's largely theoretical, what happens when you actually try this stuff? How does it actually manifest itself in the real world? Well, what is the gay lifestyle in practice? It's not about same-sex, it's about rape. Most of the people who are homosexuals today were in fact molested and raped as children. Sure, there's a few people who, for whatever god they serve, really loopy in their thinking, but the people who aren't the result of rape or incest or some sort of sexual violation who become gay, they are a minority within a minority. And a lot of the people who claim that they weren't the victims of sexual abuse, whenever you talk to them, especially if they get caught going after children, whenever they get caught doing wrong, all of a sudden here comes the story about how they were molested. I was surprised that Kevin Spacey didn't try it. He admitted that he was gay, but I was waiting to hear Kevin Spacey say, when I was a child, I was molested. Milo Snuffleupagus did. When he got caught advocating for pedophilia, what a surprise. What did he do at his little press conference? He immediately tried to play for sympathy by telling folks that he was raped as a child. And these kids who were violated as children, they know that what happened to them is wrong. That's part of the reason why they become so sexually aggressive and dysfunctional as they get older. The boys who were molested as children, in most cases, they, after having been made into an unwilling sex partner, having been the target of sexual aggression, they become sexually acquiescent like a female. Or in the case of a homo thug, they go in the opposite direction. They go over the top with acting macho, over the top with being aggressive in order to cover up for their gay tendencies. And also because they feel that being this hyper-aggressive facade that they put forward, they feel that it will make them less likely to be a sexual target ever again. That's part of the reason why you see these guys lifting a lot of weights and they engage in frequent violent behavior. They do this in order to, they hope, broadcast to everyone that you better not mess with me. They're doing it as a defense mechanism. They want to be as intimidating as possible because in the back of their minds they remember what happened when they were not. And we see same that broken psychological dynamic with girls as well. A lot of these lesbians, these were girls who were raped as children, and they grow up very angry at the fact that they were helpless to stop being violated. They couldn't stop whoever the rapist was from violating them. So they either become butch lesbians who try to put on the airs and mannerisms of men, because these butch lesbians think that being a fake man is going to protect them. As they see it, being a female made them soft and made them weak and made them vulnerable, so they're going to put on the armor of masculinity. And this is going to protect them, just like the homo thugs, right? Or in the opposite case, you got the lipstick lesbians. These are lesbians who remain, at least for the most part, they'll go ahead and hold on to their feminine airs, but even so, they always have this, not even just below the surface, they all constantly radiate a distinctly anti-male hatred. Okay, she may not be running around with her hair close cropped, and she may not be running around with baggy jeans and trying to do a pathetic female gangster limp. She may not be doing that. She may not be running around trying to be a fake man. But the problem is she radiates anti-male hostility, the same kind of hostility that you find from a lot of males who don't like each other. That comes off as masculine in and of itself. You can have all the lipstick and mascara and hair weave that you want. When you radiate "I hate men," that, to a lot of people, that strikes them as distinctly masculine. Because that's what you expect from men. Men compete for females, so obviously the less men around, the better. And these lipstick lesbians, they like to flee to be in mostly female environs. They want to be surrounded by women because they feel that since a man hurt them, in most cases it was a man who violated them as a child, since it was a man that hurt them, they'll be better off if they surround themselves with women. Now, in both the case of the butch and the lipstick lesbian, you see a vehement and most of all aggressive anti-male response. Doesn't matter if it's a butch or a femme, they're both coming from the same place of having been violated by a man, and now they're furiously hostile toward men. And the so-called femme, she's no less hostile than a butch. The only difference is she doesn't feel the need to imitate male mannerisms, though she does imitate everything else. But what about violence, you ask? Well, you won't be surprised to learn that lesbian relationships tend to be the most violent of all domestic violence stats that you can find. So when these girls call themselves fleeing men rather than escaping from an abusive relationship, they jump into an entire culture of abusive relationships. This is what gay men and lesbians have in common. They become the very thing that traumatized them. The white media can try to disguise the gay lifestyle as being tender and loving. You know, we're going to show people smooching on each other. See, don't they seem so kind and generous? But in reality, lesbians are violent towards one another. And gay men, just as bad. The same controlling and angry tendencies that these people try, that women will try against men, they do it against other women. In the same way that you got some man who feels that he must control or otherwise dominate a woman, he'll do the exact same thing against whatever man he's in a relationship with. When the foundation of your lifestyle happens to be coercion and force and violence, you can't be surprised when these kind of stats for domestic violence are off the charts. This is what the white media is now pushing in one of the most popular mediums in history, and they're pushing it at children. This is what they're trying to get the children to go into. They're trying to get the children to become part of this. And although it ultimately won't work, the problem is that they're even trying it at all. I got a problem with the fact that these bastards are even attempting it. I don't give a damn that I already know that it will fail. I got a problem with the fact that they're trying it. And you need to have a problem with it too. We ought to be in control of what it is that we see and what we hear. If someone, and you can bet that they will never show you anything that makes you question their power or question their legitimacy, especially when their power is power over you. I know a lot of you just love your entertainment. You can't do without it. Well, if this is what passes for leisure time activity, you can count me out. Some of you buy video games for your kids and you don't even bother to examine what it is you're giving them. See, a lot of parents don't actually watch these video game conventions and these video game trailers. Their kids sit there and nag them about it, and mom and dad will go to the store and The kid's not old enough to get one of these rated immature games, but, you know, the kid doesn't have the money anyway, so they ask mom or dad to do it for them. And mom and dad don't actually look to see what it is that they're getting. And you better believe that these guys, Naughty Dog and DICE or EA or whomever, they're going to be very careful to tone down the homosexual imagery on the boxes. They know that they're going into a minefield, so they're going to be very careful. They're going to make sure that the packaging material doesn't really tell the parents who buy these games for their kids, hey, you're getting a gay how-to instructional video here, masquerading as a video game. They're not going to do that. They're going to try to hide it. Same way that they ambushed people at the E3 convention, they're going to try to ambush parents. This is about ambushing you in your own home. And then you wonder why a child who previously had no interest whatsoever in the lifestyle sits here and tells you that they think that they do. It's pathetic because most kids don't even know what the hell sex is until they're damn near teenagers. So when some idiot sits here and tells you, oh, I knew that I was homosexual even as a child, what you just got through doing is you just got through admitting to me that you were exposed to some sort of sexual contact from an early age. That's what you just got through doing. How the hell else is a child going to have any awareness of sex whatsoever, especially from their earliest age? That's because somebody got to them. Mm-hmm. This is what needs to be said by heterosexuals. Let's stop dancing around the issue. Let's stop beating around the bush or tiptoeing around it. Let's come straight up the middle. Tell these homosexuals, whenever they sit there and say, oh, well, I've known that I was homosexual. I've always had an interest in people in the same sex since my earliest memories. Oh, you just got through telling me that you were molested as a child. That's the only way that would have happened. Children don't do that normally. Children do not normally have sexual interest, mainly because A, their hormones haven't kicked in, and B, a child don't even know what the hell sex is or what it's for. Stop letting them tell you that a child understands these things. They don't. Stop letting them tell you that a child has sexual cravings and sexual desires. That's pedophile talk, folks. That's pedophile talk. Pedophiles are experts at psychological projection. Projection is when you take your own demented, perverted, twisted behavior and try to project it on someone else so you can justify your behavior towards them. See, that's the way the projection works. Yeah, you're projecting onto someone else, but you're usually projecting onto your target. So whenever you hear them saying, I had sexual urgings as a child, what they're saying is, I have sexual urgings toward children. That's what they're really saying. The white media has conditioned kids, telling them what to think, that whatever emotional nurturing you didn't get from mom and dad, whatever longing you may have in whatever respect, whatever feelings of isolation or alienation that you may have from your peer group, hey, all of these things can be solved by sex, preferably with someone of the same gender. The white media will never portray gays as being confused about themselves. Well, they'll be in denial, but the denial is always presented as an oppressive, heterosexual society that refuses to let people be themselves. But once they come out of the closet, oh, they're free. These bastards are vehement about it. You can't be free until you're taking it up the rump. And you can't really be yourself unless you're burying your face in another woman's crotch. To them, this is a freaking religion. Oh, forget about religion, it's a freaking cult. The same way that you see cults or you see particularly aggressive religious sects who try to present their beliefs as being the cure-all, that you're good, this is going to be the answer to everything if you just do this. That's how they promote homosexuality. Homosexuality is the answer to whatever ails you. Didn't have a good relationship with your parents? Go find some dude to hold hands with. Did you not get the nurturing from mom you needed as a child? Well, all you got to do is squeeze another woman's butt. She won't mind your Revlon nails pressing into her rear end. In fact, she probably likes it. I mean, that's what they do with it, like a religion. This is going to be the answer. Gay is the answer. Friends, stop looking for the truth. Gay is the way, the truth, and the light. You can't be happy without it. Gay is the answer to everything you've ever wondered. I mean, these guys are a freaking cult about this. And if young people call themselves experimenting with gay sex, it won't be some one-and-done thing. It's not a lifestyle. The LGBT thing is a trap. Okay? Homosexuality is not a lifestyle. It's a trap. And The white media is trying to snare children with this. Our children. Well, folks, we better wake up. We better wake up and understand what a media is and what it's good for. What is the purpose of a media? As I keep telling you, the purpose of media is to promote a value system. That's what the bad guys are doing. Teach the society what ideals ought to be held important to them. Drill into them constantly how they should act and how they should react, how they should see the world. Media conditions the minds of the masses through narratives and images. How many times have I told you that? I have said it and I'll continue to say it. Media is not there to entertain. The bad guys understand that they are not in the business of entertainment. They are in the business of any black male, female couples television celebrate them. You have never seen them celebrate a black man and a black woman in a loving relationship. They don't. But they will celebrate a gay person in isolation. Because that's what they want you to see. They want to indoctrinate you that if you want a pat on the back from the dominant society, well, you need to go ahead and be gay. You need to let them know that you're going for it. That's fine. You'll get a pat on the back from them and they'll like you. That's how you get ahead. That's what it conditions people to do. That's what conditions black people to do. We need a media of our own. A black media that works in our interests and not festering with the dregs of white supremacy, be it their obnoxious mouthpieces who openly attack us or their insidious henchmen who pretend not to be against us. And you know what? I mentioned this earlier about young people who are turning the corner, or rather turning their backs on all this garbage. I got a lot of faith in the youth. A lot of you don't. I do. I knew that we had a good crop of young people when I saw what happened in Jena, Louisiana. It was young people who led the charge to protest the nooses that some of the white kids were up there calling themselves hanging around the schools. It was the kids who organized that, not the adults. By the time these kids were done, they had freaking tour buses that were pulling into Jena, Louisiana before the white media even knew what the hell was going on. And there are other examples. The young people have been leading the charge. The young people have been doing the yeoman's work. And I got to salute them. This work's being done by the kids. And fighting for a black empowerment system, value system, that's going to be I think it's going to be these kids who are going to be the hardest soldiers for it. But what they need is for their elders, and it's hard for us to call ourselves that Gen Xers, but we need to accept the fact that's who we are. They're looking to us. They look to us for cues. They look to us for the language. They look to us for the verbiage. They look to us for trends and ideas. We are the last link to both the civil rights and black power movements. We are the last link to the world what it was before the internet. We are the last link to the world that wasn't so hyper interconnected where basically you're expected to keep yourself vulnerable to the world. We're the last remnant of humanity who understands what the world was before all that. And they're looking to us for ideas. And we got the ideas, but damn it, we got to start saying them. Okay, it is not enough for us to just sit back and think the kids are going to be on autopilot. That's leaving them as prey. I count on children weak-willed and gullible. I count on them being strong-willed and discerning. But we have to do our part. And we as the elders have to push a dialogue that speaks the truth. Now, I told you a couple of months back about how some ridiculous gay advocacy front group calling itself the Institute for, well, whatever. They had a so-called survey that they called themselves conducting in which they, surprise, surprise, found that a majority of Americans support gay marriage. But the real point of their study was to say that black people support gay marriage. The majority of black people support gay marriage. Well, we know that's a bald-faced lie, but let me quote you on a survey that is not a lie. Just released today, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has released the results of their 2017 annual survey on teen behavior, and the results are astonishing. Well, to the degenerates in the white media, astonishing. The CDC's annual teen behavior survey has found that fewer high school students are having sex than ever before. You heard me right. Teen sex, especially among high schoolers, is now at historic lows, not historic highs. This is bad news for the LGBT movement. How the hell are you supposed to promote a movement that's all about having sex when the kids are saying, you know what, forget that. We're going to be having a lot less sex. Well, man, it's going to be harder to find kids who you can get drunk at a party and have some gay trysts with. In 2017, just 39.5% of the teenagers surveyed said that they had ever had sex. That's down from 47.8% in 2007 and 57% in 1988. A lot of us Gen Xers grew up in the 1980s, the 70s, and 80s. And we remember what the world things were like back then. And it's very interesting. You got this younger generation. They seem to have, at least at first blush, they seem to have learned at least one of the lessons of history. They're not making a lot of the mistakes that the Gen Xers make, because a lot of the Gen Xers were raised, obviously, by baby boomers. And the baby boomers were the whole free love thing. The bastard baby epidemic started with them. If there is ever an accurate history of the human race written, the baby boomer generation will be remembered as the single most useless group of human beings.
Hey, how you doing? Shalon Low. Here, Professor. You hear the audio good? Shilalo. All right. Shalom. All right. Shalom. Gotcha. All right. It's good. You can hear the audio good. It's actually it is. Yep. Actually it is. Yep. Sure is. Just about to rise. Yep. Mm-hmm. Hey, Shlo, do you hear Professor Black Truth? Okay. Out of Georgia, okay. Huh. Oh shoot, hold on for a second. Check this out. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. You probably see something flowing out in the sky. Body dropping up a chemtrail. Yeah, Professor Black Truth was saying that this video may get taken off of YouTube. Oh yeah. That's why I had to record Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I think the whole promoting homosexuality thing is disgusting. You know what I'm saying? And Professor Black Truth just spoke a lot of truth on that, saying that they do it by force. You know, and to the average person, it may not strike. Everybody's going after children, even the pedophiles, because children are more eager to be manipulated, or as Mr. Brown would say, manipulated, into thinking that homosexuality is okay, that evil is good and good is evil. Yeah, in these games now, if I understand it, the kids, they actually communicate to each other. Or hell, they could be communicated to a pedophile. And they may talk just like a child, just like them. You know what I'm saying? Molest the young boys and girls. If it's a man, most likely he's going to molest the boy before he molests a girl. And this is what they're trying to make normal. This is what they're trying to make normal, pedophilia. It's terrible. How can two men or two women procreate? It's absolutely impossible. I mean, shoot. It's like getting a woman to procreate by herself. We all know that's impossible. You got to have some sperm. Hey, what do I know? You can't tell these these promoters of the homosexual and transsexual agenda that. So what do we have left if we got a society full of homosexuals and transsexuals and you start eliminating gender? It's gonna be a fucked up world. But it might not be fucked up to the elites though. Maybe they want less people in the world. Well, they got a lot of work to do because they ain't killing a lot of us quick enough. A lot of us are not even dying. We're still living. Shoot, what happens if we all live past 100 years old? Shit. Without these chemicals, shoot, some of us might be able to live past 200 years. Yep. Homosexuals, they only last one generation. For real, for real. How you gonna, what, you gonna build artificial babies? Or we gonna go to human cloning next? You gonna turn them into homos too? You gonna start farming humans in the lab? Like Jacob, who created white people based on the Muslim belief? I mean, that's crazy. That's like really twisted. Hey, what do I know? Got to talk to those homos who promoting this stuff. Yeah. Without the sperm, you can't have a child. What? I guess. It's crazy. Yeah, probably because I'm under trees. It's probably why it's buffering. Hey, good seeing you, Stephanie. Blessings to you too. Yeah, I'm just playing the audio of Professor Black Truth's video that he thinks is gonna be taken off of YouTube because he's going after the homosexuals who are promoting their agenda through the gaming industry. Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely, Chandler. Right. Yep. 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 I think that's how long Hollywood has been around. Oh yeah. Shit, actually supposed to be nice today. I think it's supposed to be like in the 80s. That's what I'm guessing. Again, then it might be in the upper. It might be in the upper 70s today. It feels pretty nice right now. Feel like it's in the 70s right now. It's gonna be somewhere in the 80s today. Well, it's the dog days of summer. Where I work at, and we're gonna have to be. We're gonna be getting a lot of juice and water, especially water. I left my box on. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. It looks like it's gonna shine pretty good today. I can get that vitamin D. Yeah. Man. I think the young generation are more aware than we are when we were their age. So I do have hope for the future in regards to the younger generation, in regards to the Generation Ys and the Generation Z people. Yep, absolutely. I think that's it to his lecture here. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I just had to share that audio with y'all. Yep. Yes, exactly. That is the main difference. That is the main difference. And they're absorbing all of this information that is coming out of the internet. Shallow. Oh yeah. That's one of the reasons why I have hope for the future, for the next generations and future generations. They're gonna see the BS for what it is. And they're gonna take our wise counsel and run with it. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. They may be the ones to be able to create a Black Wall Street if we don't create it in our lifetimes. If we don't have one in our lifetimes, it's gonna be them who gonna create it. And when we're old, or if we're alive, or if we're still alive, we're gonna rejoice when that Black Wall Street is created. But they gonna put stuff in place that the old Black Wall Streets didn't put up. They're gonna have security. They're gonna have a law enforcement force that's gonna be based on truth and justice, peace and black love. That's gonna be an awesome day. Exactly. Yep. So it's gonna be an awesome day. Yeah, that's maybe why went ahead and did this video. I had to put that audio up there, but you know how YouTube does it. The minute he said that his channel this video might be taken off, I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and record it. So in case if it does take it off, we'll still have it. I can still listen to it. It's gonna be still out here in the YouTube atmosphere or the YouTube internet sphere. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure you got that message too, channel. Actually, I saw your comment in there. Yeah, with the fist up. That's what's up. Yeah. It's a good thing. Good thing. I'll tell you, man, that Professor Black Truth, a lot of knowledge too. I'm just like, man, he goes on and on. See, like he ain't took a breath. Black first every day, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I'm on my way to work right now. Yep. Waiting to get on this city bus here. Yep. Matter of fact, where I live is shoot, I'm right across the street from the shipyards. We got a shipbuilding. We're a shipbuilding area here. Hold on, let me shoot. Yeah, that's the shipbuilding back there. Check all that stuff out there. Yeah. Yeah, that's the shipyard building right there. This time be like the docks and what have you. So yeah. Whew. Yeah, that's pretty much the area here. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. But anyway, be doing another video later. Probably this evening or something like that. But other than that, it's good seeing everybody in the chat here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, we can to support our brothers and sisters who are speaking truth, keeping it black first, you know. It's essential. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get on. Yeah, I have a good day. I'll check out later.